I have played through this game in such quick succession that even the lowest tier of garbage seem like divinity in my hands. BloodBorne has weapons. Surprise, surprise. And I've played the game with each and every single right-handed weapon to see which was the best of the batch, and which would give me stage 4 prostate cancer. My anus is still bleeding to this day. We already did a ranking for the left-handed weapons, so it only seemed right that we do it for the... right. I wish there was a word I could substitute it with. This explanation is taking far longer than I would have expected. Rules! I can only use one right-handed weapon at a time for each run. Glitches are fine, but cheats are not acceptable. And dungeons are acceptable for whatever reason I feel like coming up with at the moment. Oh, and we will be continuing on from our previous save, which means this ranking/challenge will be starting at New Game Plus 7 and continuing from there, which ensures that every single weapon will be on equal footing. Now it is time to kick off this ranking with the first weapon on our list, and that is the Cos Parasite. Let me just say, what is this weapon? Everything about it feels wrong. In my experience of using the Cos Parasite, I've seen better performances from terminal patients rehearsing I Will Survive. The only praise that I can think of giving this scum-sucking parasite is that it has one of the, if not the longest range attacks for a melee weapon. But everything else about it is absolutely abominable. Its attacks take so long that an enemy can get 2 quick swings on you before you even get 1 normal attack off. Its stats insult your very intelligence, and it only has 2 good attacks which are both in its transformed state. So you guys are probably wondering, is there any reason to use its non-transformed state? And the answer is yes, because only in its non-transformed state can you perform a backstab. But the backstab has 2 separate ticks of damage, and it's that second tick that procs the backstab. Because of course it does! After all, it would be ludicrous for this weapon to be a one-pump chump. Its stagger potential is mediocre, its damage potential pisses me off, and having to use this weapon after being mentally broken for my left-handed weapon run brought back my sanity only to drive me plummeting into the depths of insanity, to ensure that I understood on the way down the new hell I am in. This weapon has a challenging time against all bosses, but to get the top tier garbage experience, fight the One Reborn, Marta Ligarius, and the Orphan of Cos. Orphan of Cos especially because the placenta... You know what, let's not make that joke. And with that stellar review, I am going to be placing this weapon in the same crust-filled, slime-ridden water that it spurted out from. Next, we have the Amygdalin Arm, and we went from hell to heaven real quick. Its stats are great, its damage and stagger potential is astounding, and both its transformed and untransformed state are excellent. It can perform backstabs in both forms. All bosses go down rather easily when challenging them with this weapon. Also, the Amygdalin Arm's range is deceptively long. I don't have any real complaints about this weapon besides minor gripes. And it kinda looks like a drumstick. But that is one ugly fucking chicken. S tier. Next, we have the Beast Cutter. And using this weapon is like circumcising yourself with a rusted saw blade. Its stagger potential is mediocre, its stats are trash, its damage is trash, and its performance is even worse. Its untransformed state insults my intelligence, and its transformed state violates my rectum. It can only perform backstabs in its untransformed state, and I don't care if its transformed state can reach the moon if it takes a decade to do so. All bosses were challenging, but none of them stood out as more painful than passing a kidney stone. F tier. Next, we have the Tonitrus. And wow, this was a surprise in many ways. Its stats made me scratch my head, its damage made me giddy with delight, and its stagger potential is mediocre. The Tonitrus can perform backstabs in both states, but I have 2 major issues with the Tonitrus. The first is that the weapon doesn't reside in its transformed state, meaning that you're gonna have to be spamming the button. The second issue is that just by scraping the rust off my toenails, the weapon was at risk of breaking. It does fine against all bosses, but its weakest performance by far was up against Dark Beast Parl, for obvious reasons. I really like this close range weapon, but it should have had a lot more to it. Also, I'm not a huge fan of the whole transform state is just weapon, but with gimmick. They really should have spruced up the attack pattern. B tier. Next up, we have the Stake Driver. Its stats are good, its damage is good, and its stagger potential is above average. But its performance is so limited. The amount of diversity in your attack patterns is lower than the number of crackheads at your local McDonald's in the afternoon. And that's just me talking about the untransformed state. The transformed state is an even worse offender. The charged R2's range is far more narrow than I was anticipating. But hey, at least this weapon can backstab in both states. And while bosses aren't challenging for this weapon, they also aren't a walk in the park. B tier. And now it's BOOM! Hammer time. Its range is a bit closer than you would be expecting, its stats are below average, its damage is the equivalent of slapping someone with a wet paper napkin before needing to catch your breath, and its stagger is okay, but that doesn't count for much. It's also a shittier version of Nitrous with its transformed state, so while it can backstab enemies in both transform and untransform, I don't like the idea that after a single swing I have to recharge. All bosses are a struggle for this weapon, but the one that was most challenging was Lawrence. But at the same time, you're going to find yourself grateful to Lawrence, because he doesn't leave you wondering if you should take the time to transform the Boom Hammer for that little extra boost of damage. F tier. Next up, we have the Rakuya. It has great damage, incredible performance, less than adequate stagger potential, and nice stats. You can only perform backstabs in its non-transform state, but I still like the transform state because its twirls make me feel like a princess. Wait, no, that's a different input. This weapon has a great amount of diversity in its attacks despite looking rather basic, and I found myself constantly changing between its transformations in rapid succession within boss fights to see which fit the playstyle more. Its range feels a bit close at times, but it still makes quick work of all bosses. S tier. Next up, Logarius' Wheel. This weapon is far more close range than you'd expect, its stagger potential is mediocre, its damage potential is piss poor, and its performance sucks. This is one of the few weapons that actively deters you from using it in one state or another. You find it far more enjoyable cranking another man's Johnson over cranking this wheel. It can only perform backstabs in its non-transformed state, and while all bosses are challenging, the two that stand out as harder than all the rest is Lady Maria and the first hunter, Gehrman. But what do you expect when literal snails are more mobile than this wheel? F tier. Next up, we have the Whirly Jigsaw. You guys are really gonna make me explain why? Alright. Damage, great. Stats, nice. Stagger potential? Okay. Performance? Chef's kiss. Its reach is a bit on the long side, it can backstab in both states, although in its transformed state it's at the last tick at the end. And in the end, no boss is a challenge for the Whirly Jigsaw. All of these things would make it qualify for S tier, but what makes it a step above that is its glitch. And oh boy, have I used this glitch plenty. Thank you for saving my life. And my mind. Next up, we have the Bloodletter. Its range differs depending on which state it's in. In its non-transformed state, it's a short club. In its transformed state, it's a big Oingo Boingo club. But both states can backstab, so not a whole lot of difference there. It has good stats, good damage, okay stagger potential, and its performance is pretty good. There aren't any bosses that stand out as a real challenge for the Bloodletter, but I'm not a huge fan of weapons that cost HP to use. It's one thing to cost Quicksilver bullets, but HP is a much steeper asking price. So I'm gonna have to lower its ranking and place it in A tier. Next up, we have the Beast Claw. Using this weapon was like pure ecstasy, with a touch of heroin. But it was simultaneously making me experience mental psychosis. Just like heroin. Its stats are okay, its damage is incredible, its stagger potential is good, and its performance is incomprehensibly exquisite. Using the Beast Claw is like having a permanent Beast Blood pellet active, which boosts your damage at the cost of decreasing your defensive capabilities. But it only matters if the enemies are capable of touching you, and after playing BloodBorne for over 200 hours non-stop, just like the rich and powerful of this world, I was completely untouchable. And finally, for this close range weapon, it can only backstab in its non-transformed state. Which is what my delirium was telling me. But turns out, I was completely wrong, because when I took off Beast's Embrace, it can backstab in both states. But with the Beast Embrace rune, it can only backstab in its non-transformed state. Is what my delirium was telling me again. Which isn't the case, because it turns out that there's a wholly different input to get the backstab. You can't just do a regular heavy attack, that's insane, you stupid fool. What you have to do is a jumping heavy attack, because this weapon is more special than all the others. And this forced me to go back to all prior weapons just to confirm if they could really only perform backstabs in one state. By the end of it all, as my delirium was fading and my mind was being slowly pulled back together, making sure to pull the Evelyn out of my mouth, I found myself overly satisfied with the Beast Claw. But sadly enough, I can't place it in the top tier because of the number of requirements and factors that are at play that decide whether this weapon is performing at its peak or not. Sorry, but I don't like the idea of my armor deciding on my behalf if I do more damage. Now to finish things up, all bosses are a cakewalk, and with all of that being said, the Beast Claw goes into the S tier. I need a palate cleanser to get me down from this extreme high. Maybe some more heroin. Next up, we have the Threaded Cane. Its damage, stagger potential, and stats are all fine. Its performance is okay. Its range is a bit closer than you'd be expecting. There aren't any real bosses that stand out as a challenge for it, and it can only backstab in its non-transformed state. Outside of putting my bitches in their place or being a relic from the 18th century, this weapon isn't really all that viable. B tier. Next up, we have the Kirk Hammer. It has good damage, good stun potential, nice performance, awesome stats, has a bit more range than you'd be expecting, and doesn't see any boss as a real challenge for it. It can backstab in both states, but you'll find little reason to use the hammer part of the Kirk Hammer. Ultimately, I think what this weapon was aiming for was the simpler the concept the better, and I do believe that it achieved its goal. A tier. Next up, we have the Hunter's Axe. Damage, exquisite. Performance, lovely. Stats, phenomenal. Stagger potential, great. Its range is that of an Extendo Fist, its use against bosses is comical, and it can backstab in both states, surprisingly enough. But it's only the first strike in the transformed states combo that gets the backstab. Anything further than that and you'll just toss them right out. Overall, I think it's a really good weapon. Now if only I was Kratos and there was a boy by my side. Scratch that second part. A tier! Next up, we have the Beast Hunter Scythe. And this weapon is fun. Its damage is good, its stagger potential is also good, its stats are pretty nice. Its range is a little longer than you'd be expecting, and its performance was far more enjoyable than I was anticipating. Its untransformed state isn't really anything to scoff at, but its transformed state is where it shines the most, because this weapon's primary purpose is gap closing. And I don't know what it is, but there's something about not giving enemies any room to breathe while shoving this weapon further and further up their rectum like it's a tapeworm that puts a smile on my face. Why is this weapon an even greater parasite than the cost parasite? It can backstab in both states, bosses are a breeze, and every issue that I have with this weapon is nothing more than minor gripes. So with all of that being said, this weapon has earned its place in S tier. Next up, we have the Burial Blade, and I am so frustrated. I am so frustrated with this weapon because it outright spat in my face while doing backflips on my point system. If it wasn't for the metrics that I use to qualify weapons for their specific rankings, I would have placed this in the D tier without a second thought. The Burial Blade has a bit more reach than your average weapon. Stats, incredible. Damage, great. Stagger potential, good. Performance, begrudgingly nice. Bosses are a breeze, it can backstab in both states, but this weapon's moveset never felt right for me, and the issue was only exasperated when it was in its transformed state. I want so badly to bury the Burial Blade, but instead, I resentfully give it A tier. Next up, we have the Rifle Spear. I was excited to use this weapon, then I used it. Its stats, damage, stagger potential are all adequate. Its performance is below that. Bosses are about average difficulty for the Rifle Spear, and this weapon can backstab in both states. Yes, From Software. Yes, Miyazaki. Both states. The untransformed state fucking exists. They made the untransformed state of the Rifle Spear such an afterthought that it has 3 attacks. Not 3 attack cycles, not 3 attack patterns, 3 separate attacks. I hate when they do this to weapons because it outright kills its viability due to its lack of versatility. I understand that the Rifle Spear is supposed to be a rifle spear. The weapon solely exists for range purposes, and it fulfills those range purposes very well, but at least pretend that there's a spear attached to this rifle. Mini tirade aside, it's still better than the lowest tier of garbage. D tier. Next up, we have the Rider Palash. And this is what the Rifle Spear should have been. Its stats are good, its damage is good, its stagger potential is average if not a little bit below that, but its performance is rather impressive. Its range is a bit average, you know, excluding the switch attached to it. The moveset is a bit more jarring when compared to other weapons, but you get used to it rather quickly. Bosses are a breeze with the Rider Palash in hand, and it can technically only backstab in its untransformed state, because its transformed state replaces your heavy attack with the... Yeah, you can technically only backstab untransformed. So with all of that being said, the Rider Palash sits comfortably in the A tier. Next up, we have the Shikage. And no, I'm not gonna make the usual jokes because that's low-hanging fruits. Stats, damage, and stagger potential are all good, but its performance is a bit questionable, since this weapon actively deters you from using its transformed state. In its transformed state, the Shikage deals more damage, but at the cost of slowly draining your HP pool. This issue is only exacerbated when you use its heavy attack, because it drains a substantial amount more. I made my issues clear with weapons like the Shikage when we were discussing the Blood Letter, but the Blood Letter only has a one-time cost for each transformation. The Shikage, however, isn't a one-time cost. It's continuously draining your HP every moment you have the transform state active. That minute difference in HP drain is more likely to cost you the fight than aid you in claiming victory, which will bring shame upon your forefathers, with the only way to reclaim your honor is by committing seppuku. But even then, the Shikage is a bit premature in that department as well. So with all of my issues and gripes being pushed to the side, its range is average, bosses are a breeze, and it can backstab in both states. A tier. Next up, Ludwig's Holy Blade. Stats are great, damage is phenomenal, stagger potential is good, and overall performance is excellent. Its range is on the longer side for melee, and you can choose whether you like it skinny or with some girth. It can backstab in both states, bosses are a cakewalk. In all honesty, this shouldn't be placed anywhere below S tier. But I'm gonna place it below S tier, because it's either that, or admit that I died to one of the easier bosses in the run because of a skill issue. So Ludwig's Holy Blade gets a firm A tier. Next up, we have Simon's Bowblade. And this was close to being a masterpiece. Stats, damage, stagger potential, all great, but its performance is where it takes the cake. Untransformed, its range is a bit longer than average, but transformed, its range is that of any left-handed weapon. Bosses are a breeze, and surprisingly enough, it can backstab in both states. But if you run out of Quicksilver bullets in its transformed state, well, you don't want to run out of bullets. I can finally fulfill my dreams of joining the Avengers. You guys can call me Cockeye. S tier. Next up, Blaze of Mercy. And this is just the Rakuyo, but 10 times worse. Stats, damage, stagger potential, not so great. But its performance, on the other hand, is just as shit. I was trying to make a point here. You have greater range in your attacks using your fist over the Blade of Mercy. All bosses are a challenge, and it can only backstab in its non-transformed state. But the boss that's gonna peg you the hardest is most likely gonna be Marta Ligarius. Turns out this wizard knows a thing or two about wands and weapons, and that small heat you're packing ain't gonna cut it, chief. But I still think this has some viability over the garbage in F tier, so I'm gonna place it in a very low D tier. Next up, Saw Spear. Stats, damage, stagger potential, and its performance are all incredible. It can backstab in both states, and all bosses are a breeze for this weapon. However, unfortunately, outside of the additional range that you get from its transformed state, it doesn't have a lot going on in that department. S tier. Okay, I'll boost it. Next up, we have the Saw Cleaver. Stats, damage, stagger potential, and its performance are all incredible. It can backstab in both states, and all bosses are a breeze for this weapon. However, unfortunately, outside of the additional range that you get from its transformed state, it doesn't have a lot going on in that department. S tier. Okay, I'll boost it. Oh yeah, and I want to clarify that the Saw Spear and the Saw Cleaver are interchangeable, while every other weapon, the further on the left it is, the better it is compared to the rest. And finally, to end this challenge off, we have the Holy Moonlight Sword. And this was the best possible way we could have ended this run off. Stats, damage, stagger potential, performance, they aren't just phenomenal, they are excellent, impeccable, incredible. This weapon is beyond reproach. To say all bosses were a breeze or a cakewalk would be to undermine just how hard I blasted their assholes with the Holy Moonlight Sword. It can backstab in both states and fire projectiles. If the Holy Moonlight Sword existed in the real world as some sort of medicine, it would be a miracle drug that could cure all ailments, like heroin. And it's for that reason that I'm going to be placing this weapon at the very top of this tier list. Now with all of that being said and our tier list being done, it's time to give off our closing statement. Is what I was thinking when I finished recording the Holy Moonlight Sword, not knowing that I had forgotten a weapon. And now for our real final weapon, the Church Pick. The Church Pick's stats, damage, stagger potential, and performance are all excellent. But what ticks me off is that this weapon's moveset works better on two separate weapons. Its untransformed moveset works better with the Rifle Spear untransformed, and its transformed moveset works better for the Burial Blade transformed. Why is this the case? I don't know, but it frustrates me to no end with the understanding that they could have made both weapons more viable and instead chose to look me dead in my eyes, only to give me a shit-eating grin and flip me the bird. Boss fight easy, backstab both states, range like that of a spear. S tier. And with that being said, our ranking of all right-handed weapons has officially been completed. If you guys enjoyed what you see, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all when I next upload. No, I'm not gonna rank every consumable.